So, am I allowed to speak English in other countries? So, the reason I ask this because, if I was to move to Spain, I speak a bit of Spanish. I'm not fluent by any stretch of the means, but let's say I go to Spain and I would speak my best Spanish to the locals. But if I met someone who was an English speaker, I'd speak English to them because it would be easier for me. And a lot of Spanish people can speak English anyway. But if I was to travel with family who also speak English, I'd be speaking English to them, and we'd be speaking Spanish to the locals, right? So if I'm on like a bus or a train in Spain and I'm with my partner and I'm speaking English, not Spanish to her, it makes sense, right? Because we're both English speakers and we're speaking to each other. That's acceptable. So why do people throw a fit in this country when the same thing happens here? When someone whose first language isn't English, they're on public transportation with someone else whose first language isn't English, they share the same language, they're on public transportation, speaking their language to each other. Why is that a problem? They're not speaking to you, they're speaking to themselves, they're speaking to each other. They could be speaking any language, it doesn't matter. They're not speaking to me in this scenario, So why is that a problem? And why are some people assuming that because they're not speaking English to each other, which by all rights they shouldn't need to anyway, because they're speaking to each other, not you. So why are then people making the assumption that if they're not speaking English to each other, they can't speak English at all? Because that's a stupid statement. Granted, I'm aware that not everyone whose first language is English is fluent in English. I get that, in the same way that I know lots of Brits who have moved to Spain and they're not fluent in Spanish. It's one rule for me, one rule for thee sort of thing. So why is that a problem? If you're not talking to them and they're not talking to you, mind your own fucking business. It doesn't matter what language they're speaking in. And if you feel uncomfortable that someone's speaking a different language to you on public transportation, that's a you problem. They're not trying to speak to you, they are speaking to each other. If they were speaking in English, they still wouldn't be speaking to you, so it doesn't matter what they're saying. If they're pointing at you and saying stuff, then fine, then you have a right to kind of be annoyed, but if they were speaking English, they still wouldn't be speaking to you, so it doesn't matter what they're saying, so it doesn't matter what language it is they're saying it in. I'm so sick of this double standard. It's been happening for years. Get over yourselves.